tip. So we sang over my tri-tip.
Nice, very nice.
Thank you guys. So yes, today I am 39 years old. And I will say this is the first time, and I mean this is the first time I've actually said like, yep, I actually feel my age because I'm 2 weeks post surgery and I have this grabber tool to pick stuff up off the floor. Um, and it also doubles as a prodder to keep my kids away from me. So it's worked pretty well, I must say. Um, so um, let's get started, guys. So just a reminder, this call is being recorded. I'm going to minimize this. So if you have a question, just yell it out, unmute yourself, whatever you have to do. But today we are talking about the real estate agent book. I'm holding it up right here. It is written by Jay Papasan. If that name is familiar, he is the author of, I'd say probably, in my opinion, the most popular book from him is The One Thing. He co-wrote the MREA, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, and it seems like he led the writing in the Rookie Real Estate Agent. And I would say something that might be a little humbling for a lot of people is by definition, and they're not the first ones to say this, they define a new agent as anybody that has not yet earned $100,000. So the goal of this is to get you to earn $100,000. And Brian Buffini and Company, it's another coaching business. They actually categorize somebody that has not earned $100,000 as a newer agent. So a lot of these people are rhyming and saying that if you have not hit that six-figure mark, you are considered a new agent or a rookie. Okay. So I have my notes off to the side. This is the first time I've taught this class. So we're going to work on this together. You guys also in the chat, there is right here. My kids got a hold of this, so it's a little messy. The workshop book. You should have that in front of you. I will be addressing some of the pages as we go. And then lastly, this is going to be a little bit more of an abbreviated class. The schedule that's supposed to be followed, in my opinion, I think this is supposed to be like a 4 to 5 hour class. But we're going to be skipping on a few things. We're going to be skipping on the lunch. You guys can go ahead and eat through this if you'd like. And we're going to be skipping on the top agent panel. So the four big chapters that we are going to go through, and I'm going to do my best to keep this within a reasonable amount of time, also because I'm standing on one leg. Part one is going to be about the mindset. Part two is going to be about habits. Part three is going to be about financial goals. And then part four is going to be database and role play. Most likely, we're going to be talking about database. We're not going to be breaking out into role play. Although on Thursdays, we do have role play. So you can, practice what you preach after today. So first thing we have today is the mindset. Okay, so we're going to go on to this next part here. And this is on page, let me see. We're going to be on pages 6 to 7 of the workbook. And in the actual book itself, this is going to be pages 2 to 6. Okay, so bear with me. I'm working on two different slides at the same time. So first we have ready to fall in love with real estate. So who would like to share their thoughts on this quote here? It says, instead of wondering whether you can succeed in real estate, ask why not me? What do we think about that quote? So here's the goal. The goal is that by the end of today, you're going to be excited about what type of limitless, unlimited capacity there is in real estate. And the truth of the matter is, I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir. You guys are already sold on real estate. Like you guys took the time to get your licensing classes, to apply for your license, to do all those things. So we know that you guys are already committed to real estate. But what we're going to try to do is remove some of those myth understandings that a lot of people have when they're getting started in a journey like this. And if you're not familiar with the MREA, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, they talk about myth understandings. They want to address some of the myths that people tend to believe, whether or not they realize they do. And then we're going to kind of tackle those and kind of chop them at the knees. So, here are the 5 reasons why real estate is a great career opportunity. And here's the thing, you may have already understood a few of these, but maybe you've overlooked a few, and you're going to hopefully have a new appreciation for some of these things. Okay? So what we have here is, again, this is on the workbook pages 6 to 7, and we're going to go over the 5 reasons that people choose real estate. Most likely 2 or 3 of these have already, this is why you're here, but maybe you've skipped over a few of these. So number 1 is freedom and flexibility. And I always like to tell people this one is a double-edged sword, because you are your own boss. And sometimes your boss is a total jerk, and they are greedy with their time, and they're selfish, and they're scared. So you have the freedom to do as much as you want. You also have the freedom to do absolutely nothing. Okay. And what they encourage in the book is that if you can just lean into the things we're going to teach you, you will finally discover the good side of that freedom and flexibility. Okay. Number 2, you get to help people with their greatest asset purchase. So as an agent, you're going to be helping somebody purchase something that's, I mean, without a doubt, not even sometimes, it is going to be the biggest purchase of their lives. And what I would say, if I'm being honest, is sometimes we need to remind some of our more seasoned agents that this is the biggest transaction of their clients' lives. Because I think what can start to happen is agents will just say, like, yeah, I got to head over to 123 Banana Street. I got to drop off the keys. They close escrow. It was a nightmare. But and let's grab some drinks. Well, hold on. You just helped somebody do one of the biggest and scariest things of their entire life, and they're a 15-minute time block on your schedule so that you can just give them the keys real quick and make a run for it. So, again, this is a good reminder. Low cost of entry. I think this is one that I want to stay on just a little bit longer. Does anybody here have an idea? Just give me a ballpark number of what is the cost of starting or running your real estate business. If no sales are made, you pay your monthly dues to Arcadia, to KW, to PFAR, whoever you're paying it to. What is the annual cost?
$10,000.
$10,000? Anyone else? And by the way, it's going to be different for everybody. So I want to hear what everyone else thinks.
Keith, what do we say on the case work? Yeah, but that's just case work, that's not, that's just like 5,000 the whole year. I say 15.
15,000?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll give you guys my experience. I think it runs us about $6,000, my wife and I. When I had a CrossFit gym, it was $3,000 to use the license, and then it was probably another $30,000 to just keep the lights on and do everything else that needed to be done. If you want, and I just pulled this up because I've actually always been curious about this. In order to open up a McDonald's, does anybody know what kind of money you have to have?
Well, because a small franchise that's not McDonald's is like 40 grand to buy into, like a Quiznos. About $1 million. Yeah.
You have to have $500,000 in liquid assets to buy. And the reason why I use McDonald's is because I think there are few systems that you can just buy and turn on that will work the way McDonald's does. And yet we have something like the Millionaire Real Estate Agent models and systems from Keller Williams that are just as predictable. And the annual cost to get started is, what we're agreeing upon, is under $10,000, it sounds like. Okay, and if I'm being honest, I think it's actually less than that if you're not paying for any extra bells and whistles. If you're really using the KW Command, the app, you're only using your cell phone, you're not using any external CRMs, you're not paying for leads or ads or any other softwares, you are going to be south of $6,000 a year. And yet, what does one transaction get us? $15,000, $20,000. So the low cost of entry, I think, again, is a double-edged sword because so many people can get into the business that it could become a little bit of a distraction. Like people can try to pull business away from you. But just understand that you are in a really potent business that does not keep a lot of funds out of your pocket. It doesn't take a lot of money to keep your business going. Okay. Let's see. Number 4 is no financial ceiling. I think we've all experienced something like that, right? If you have a salary job or you're working hourly, it could be a little depressing to think, well, in 3 months, this is exactly how much money I'll make. That could be reassuring for some and it could be depressing for others. Well, in real estate, and I always tell people this, you are always 30 to 45 days away from a $15,000 to $20,000 check at all points in time. So there's absolutely no financial ceiling in real estate. Okay. And number 5, inside opportunity to invest. As an agent, you have the inside track. I think Gary Keller said it. Every great transaction first had to go through an agent's fingers. You know your market like the back of your hand. And I guess my question is, have you guys ever considered that you have an inside opportunity to invest in real estate? There's a shirt that I want to be made, but I know it'll never be made, and it says smoke your own supply, because I think more agents should absolutely get involved in the products that they sell. And I'll give you a little story. Um, his name's Joseph. He was our landscaping guy, great guy. And he always used to ask me, like, Gabe, if you ever come across a duplex, you gotta let me know. Let me know. And I just flat out told him, I said, Joseph, I'm not gonna tell you. If it's a good duplex, I will buy it myself. And he laughed, but he also knew I was serious. Because I always keep my ear out for that. So should you guys. Okay. So here's the activity that we're gonna be doing. Okay. 5 reasons to fall in love with real estate. Here's what I would like for you guys to do. I want you to go to your workbook on pages 6 to 7. And I want you to maybe number them and give a little explanation. Which of the reasons to build a career in real estate resonates most with you and why? So we know that there's 5. Here's what I would like you to do. I want you to number them 1 through 5, with number 1 being the absolute number 1 reason why you fell in love with real estate. And we'll just give you guys a few minutes. I want you to go ahead and open your workbook, page 6 and 7. Put mine. Yeah, there you go. So 6 and 7, it's 2 pages, and I want you to number those. And I think you should also just, once you number them, give a little explanation. Why is that so important to you? What about it gets you going? Give you guys a few minutes. All right. So does anybody want to share what order? You don't have to write, you don't have to say the sentence. Maybe the sentence was a little deeper, but who wants to share with us their numbers 1 through 5 in your order?
All right, I'll go.
All right.
Let's see. Number 1 is freedom, flexibility. Number 2 is no financial ceiling. Number 3 is you get to help people with their greatest asset. Number 4 is the low cost of entry, and number 5 is the inside opportunity to invest.
Right. And here's what I love about that. That order of numbers, that's what's gonna get Keith out of bed in the morning. Okay, it's not necessarily gonna be the same as everybody's, but figure out what yours are. And you know what? Some of these, by the way, some of these exercises, they're not 2-minute exercises. Like there's one about the big why. We did a whole class on that. Okay. But just know that this is supposed to get kind of grease the wheels, and hopefully you can kind of chew on this for a while. Okay. Okay, so we're going to be moving on to the myth understandings. Now, remember, if you've read any of Gary Keller's books, they always start off with this. They say the number one problem is it's a mindset problem. So let's figure out what our mindset is falsely believing. So number one, okay, is before I take action, I feel like I have to know everything. And here's the truth. And this is how they do this. They present the myth that everyone buys into, maybe subconsciously, and then they hit it with some truth. You'll never know everything, so delaying is pointless. Has anyone experienced that before?
Yes.
Yeah, I've the analogy that I like to use is if you wanted to play basketball and you just sat in your library reading about all the strategies of basketball and all the great games that have been played, and people ask you to go outside and play basketball, you're like, no, 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 no. I need to know this game like inside and out. What would you tell that person? Like, dude, get out there and just work with the basketball. Just go dribble off your foot. Go throw a brick and an air ball. Like that's how you're going to learn. So that's myth number one, okay? Myth number two, I'm not a salesperson. I don't know what to say or do. And here's the truth. Sales is a skill. You can learn what to say and do. Now, I would actually like to improve on that if I could have that freedom, because the number one thing that I think people have to understand when it comes to actually sales is you are so convinced that you have this magic phrase like this, like, aha. And if I say it at just the right time, this quip is going to solve every problem. And I just got to figure out what that is. The truth of the matter is you just have to learn how to ask really good questions. And people will always give you the answers without even realizing it. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, we've talked about these before. Okay, what do you understand? How important is it? Just imagine, could it be possible? So these are all those questions that you can ask people. Okay. And I'll read a few notes here. So being successful at sales means understanding what the needs of others are and being able to meet those needs. And again, that comes from asking great questions. And it has to come from practice, 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 practice. Okay. Let's see. Myth number three, I don't have a local network. So we're talking kind of like about database, right? And or vendors. And the truth is, no one does until they build one. And I would even go as far to say that no, everyone has a local network. They just haven't taken the time to organize it. You already have somebody that cuts your hair, unless you've done it yourself this whole time. Somebody's dry cleaned your clothes. Somebody has fixed your car. Somebody has sold you insurance. Like you fill in the blank and you go build out your local network. And that could be your database of clients, or it could be your database of preferred vendors. All right, let's go to myth number 4 here. If I ask people for business, I will annoy them. Ooh, that is such a good one, right? You're annoying people, you're bugging them. They don't want to talk to me. The truth is, if you help people solve problems, they will be grateful. I want to stay on this one a little bit because I think this is a big myth understanding is I'm bugging people. So if you can help people solve problems, they will be grateful. So who can kind of give me an example? What's an example of, dare I say, what is an example of coming from contribution where people will actually be grateful and excited when they see your name and your beautiful face on their cell phone with an incoming call? Give me an example.
I know every time I call and let them know about events, everybody's so excited to hear about the latest workshop.
Now imagine if Robert called every single time and was like, hey, you're behind on your dues. And every single time it was like, hey, I'm just checking in. Your card didn't work this time. We need that payment to go through. Or, hey, we need you to update your login information, right? All Robert's doing is calling and asking for things, asking for things. But when he calls and says, hey, we got this great workshop coming up, you would start to become grateful if those workshops were really good, right? Give me a real estate example, though, guys.
I think you guys are talking about it in imposters today, booking calls about events.
Well, yeah, the events we talked about, yeah, we talked about touches, I know. Around an event,
Mhm.
calling people to see if they're coming and then thanking them for coming to the event, all of those different touches running an event.
Yeah.
Another thing came up though that, I have a friend who's got divorced and she's living in the same house as her ex-husband still, and I still haven't called her and said if she needs help finding an agent. So,
Mm.
so that's bad on me, but that would be an example of me calling someone and like offering some help.
100%, 100%. I mean, man, and I always think about people that, yeah, divorces or a grandparent passes. I mean, they're dealing with one of the, I think it was like a top five most difficult emotional events in a person's life. And you're going to be that person that helps them through that. Right? So I have one. Has anyone heard of I mean, it's like setting the world on fire right now. And I think my video is going to post on it in 4 minutes. Has anyone heard of the 50-year mortgage conversation?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, would any of your, and it's not going to be for everybody, but would anybody in your database be curious about that and say, like, yeah, I was actually curious about that. What do you know about that? Do you think they would be open to having a conversation or maybe have a few questions about it? It doesn't need to be, hey, you should do this, but it's a relevant topic, right? Or, when a new bill passes for landlords that maybe requires every landlord to provide a stove and a refrigerator. If you have any landlords in your database, that could be a pretty valuable conversation of, hey, January 1st, in case you didn't know, you're going to need to provide refrigerators and stoves. And I think there's one other thing to every single one of your units. Were you aware of that? What's your plan on that? Right? That's some really relevant stuff. Okay, let's keep going. Sorry. There's no way we're going to finish this on time, but I'm going to do my best, guys. Okay, myth number 5. I won't get hired because everyone already has an agent. That's another really good one, actually. The truth, you won't know until you ask. Does anybody know, Keith, you're not allowed to answer this. Does anybody know what amazing script we have that solves or answers this question? I have failed everybody. I have failed everybody. It is called the mayor campaign, and it's asking somebody really simply, hey, if you were looking to buy or sell, or if you had a friend or family member that was looking to buy or sell, do you have a real estate agent that you would refer them to? That's when you find out if their husband just got their license, or they say something like, no, I actually don't. Well, man, I would love to do that for you. There's another one that says, hey, who's keeping you up to date on all the real estate news that's going on right now? If they say Facebook, gold mine. They're yours. Okay. Um, so, anyways, that is a mayor campaign. It's a Buffini script, and it is gold. Okay. So let's now move into the activity. Sorry, hold on. Let me see. Now I want you guys. Sorry, I'm moving 2 slides at the same time. No, myth number 6. Sorry, myth number 6. I'll figure the business stuff out later. The truth, if you figure it out sooner, you'll thank yourself later. Now, this one is, it could be a little contradicting to the very, was it the first one? That says, before I take action, I have to know everything. It seems a little contrarian to myth number 6. I'll figure the business stuff out later. But what this really is meaning is doing the basics, like setting up a business checking account. That's a 30-minute process online. Open up a business checking account, or getting familiar with your pipeline, your opportunities in command, getting those things done, because once you do find your first client, and I know a lot of you have already had your first client, but there will be a point where your capacity is reached and you will have wished you set up more things earlier on. Like, I'm talking email signatures, stuff like that, that Robert can help you with. Get those stuff done and out of the way so that you can work on talking with clients. Okay. So, just kind of as a show of hands, we're going to move on to the activity. I want to know, which of these do you guys think has really been a big misunderstanding for you? And by the way, we're on workbook pages 8 to 9. And on workbook pages 8 to 9, something that you can do is you can write 1 to 2 sentences about how these have shown up for you. But I would just like to hear from you guys. What is the biggest one that jumped out at you out of those 6? Maybe you didn't even realize you were believing it.
Number 2.
Number 2. I'm not a salesperson. I don't know what to say or do. Let's see, anyone else? What else?
Number 1, I've had that conversation with you.
I may or may not have thought of Mike when I saw that first one. And Mike, do you know why I was able to sniff it out so quick?
Why is that?
Because that is 100% my problem. 100%. That's why I was able to see it so fast. So you're not alone.
That's good to know.
It is a ongoing struggle. Okay, so now here's what I want you guys to do. Just really briefly, if you want, take a few seconds to just write a few sentences so you can remember what these misunderstandings were. Okay, make sure you don't forget about what these were. And again, this is in the book, in the Rookie Real Estate Agent book. These misunderstandings are here. And if you ever get a copy of the red book, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, they have misunderstandings at the beginning of the book as well. So this is kind of a signature move by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. So while you guys are doing that, I'm just going to move on to finding your big why. Now, I don't like that this is just kind of thrown in the middle as if it's like a quick one-pager. This is a big one. It takes a lot of digging. We did an entire class on this, on finding your big why, your mission, your vision. I mean, it was an hour and a half, I think. But here's what I would like for you guys to do is I want you to just go through this. So hold on, let me find it here. So a big why is your core motivator for doing what you do. Now, here's what I would like you to do. We've discussed this before. This is something that is going to get you out of bed. It's going to pull you forward. But I think what people tend to do, this is my only criticism of this, the big why concept, is that everyone here is going to say their family. Okay? I mean, it's kind of a natural, it's one of the top 2 answers, your family. But then the question is, well, if you didn't accomplish that, either your family is not your big why, or you actually don't like your family as much as you say. And we know that's not true, right? That's why we laughed. So what I want you to do is I want you to get specific. What about your family is your big why? And then when you get that specific, I want you to go deeper. So like, let's say somebody says it's my family, and you're like, well, what does that mean? Well, we're going on vacations with my family. Okay, where? Where are you in this vacation? Are you on the beach? Are you a beach person? Are you a lake cabin person? How old is the family? Who's there? What are you eating? What are you seeing? You want to start to activate your senses when you think about your big why. Okay. And that's why your big why is going to change. Because right now, my kids are 5 and 3. So I'm not thinking of college. I'm not thinking of high school. I'm thinking of when they're a little bit younger than that. But eventually, when they become middle schoolers, I'll start thinking about college and high school. So my big why is going to start to change. But it's important that you figure out what your big why is and you get it hyper specific. Okay. So I want you to just spend a few, let's see. I want you to just spend a few seconds. So on page number 10, we're going to go through this sheet together. I want you to say, what are these moments? What is the core value here? I want you to think about what are you doing what moments in my day-to-day life or work do I find meaningful? I want you to start getting really minute with these things. And then if you go to page 11, you can see that there's actually a tree here. And in this tree, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be going deeper and deeper. So for example, you can say, why? Well, my family. Well, why is it your family? Well, because I want to be able to travel with them. Okay, well, why? What would that do for them? So you can kind of keep going bigger and bigger or deeper and deeper on page 11. Again, the only criticism is you would need a lot of time on this, okay? But I want you guys to just understand what the homework is going to be. This is a really important step, figuring out what your big why is, okay? So again, when you think you've figured out your big why, I'm not trying to be funny, ask yourself why. Well, why is that your big why? And there's probably going to be another underlying reason as to why that is so important. Perfect. Now, why did you choose that one? You're going to go deeper again. So it is a scuba dive. You're going deeper and deeper and deeper into what it is that gets you up at night. And then there's another approach you can do. I like this approach also is if you don't accomplish that goal, who gets hurt? And I don't mean like physically hurt. I mean, who gets let down? Who doesn't get the opportunities that you promised them? Right? Are you going to have to say no to that 30-year anniversary trip that you promised your significant other? Are you just going to have to hang up the idea of having a retirement home by the beach? So that's how deep you need to go with the why. You can go positive or you can go negative. I like to kind of go back and forth, but play both sides of that. Positive, why is that important to me? Why is that important to me? And the negative is, oof, who gets hurt if that doesn't happen? Who gets let down if that doesn't happen? Okay. Are there any questions so far? So the activity is find your big why. I don't think we're going to have the time to do it, but definitely write down a few ideas so that you can dive deeper at another time. Because I would want you to spend 30 minutes to an hour on this, to be honest. Okay. Are there any questions on it though?
Kind of feels like the just imagine exercise you did too.
100%.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is scripts and role play. That's what you do to your clients. Just imagine you get this house that you've talked about for 5 years, but they don't want to go up another $2,000 on the price. Okay, I understand that. Just imagine that $2,000 costs you this house. Would you be okay with that? That's kind of a jab right there. Okay, so we are now going to be moving on to habits. Oh, the irony. I'm going to have to ice my left hip because I'm standing on that leg. So I love this concept. Has anybody here, is the book here? Has anybody here read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear? I mean, if there was recommended reading in this course, that would be one of them. Atomic Habits, I actually see it. It's on my desk by James Clear. It's not a short book, but it is a fantastic book. And Jay Papasan and James Clear, two authors, they actually commingle a lot of concepts without trying to. But habits is a huge one. Habits is a huge one. So let me switch that. All right. So building success habits. We talked about how you're your own boss, and that's super exciting. And that boss sometimes is hungover. Sometimes they're asleep at the wheel. They sleep in. We all know that real estate agents are allergic to the rain. So sometimes if it rains, the boss allows you to not go into work that day. So it is so important to create habits when you're in this state, because if you try to do it on the fly, you're gonna be you're gonna get tossed back and forth by your emotions. Okay, habits are the concept of no matter what's going on, you've created the habit. I don't care how rough of a day you have, you're probably gonna brush your teeth around the same time this evening before you go to bed. Okay, that's a habit. No matter how sick you feel in the morning, you're probably going to brush your teeth in the morning because that is a habit. Doesn't matter if you feel like it or not. Okay, so we are going to be making sure you're structuring for success. So now, the book is pages, wow, we're jumping 131 to 137. If you are ever following along on this book and you want to dog ear the pages, okay? But we're going to be talking about crucial habits that are really important for agents early on, so that they can essentially set up for success, okay? So let's go into the next slide here. Time blocking. So who here has heard of time blocking, has the idea of time blocking, or wants to kind of explain it or how they use it? Anything?
Terry?
I time block, well, before the fire. I time block every day, if it was daylight. If it was winter, it would be in the morning, but I was an afternoon door knocker, so I would time block every day. 4 and 6 to door knock.
Wow. Very nice. What else? Any other time blocks that we want to share? It doesn't need to be real estate related either. I mean, maybe you've just realized like, oh wow, I actually have a time block. Keith?
Yeah, time block for going to the gym. You know, or at least I used to. And also lead, not only lead generation, but also time for appointments. I block time for that as well.
Love that. So let me give you the definition in the book. It is a method to create a schedule around what is important to you by blocking out time dedicated to what you want to accomplish. I don't think anybody was going to share when they time block tying their shoes. I don't think anybody is going to time block, I mean, maybe, cleaning out the refrigerator. Because what we want to time block are the most important things to your business. I heard door knocking, I heard gym. Those are incredibly important to a person's well-being and their business. So the important thing to remember is time block the most important activities. And I've seen people start to time block too minutely, where they're time blocking every 5 minutes. That's not the point of time blocking. Time blocking is that on your calendar, you put that 2 to 3 or whatever amount of time you lead gen, you put that on your calendar, and everything else that happens in your day orbits around that. But that is the dead zone. Nothing can go in that slot. Okay. On Friday, I have my follow-up appointment with my surgeon. I have a 10:30 time slot. I can assure you that if somebody asks me to grab lunch, I'm not going to move my surgeon's appointment because that is incredibly important to me. That is how time blocking works. Okay, so on your calendar, whether it's on paper or on your phone, you should have it time blocked when you're doing your lead gen. Okay, so what types of activities may we want to time block? Now we're talking about lead gen, so what would we time block on that?
You mean like how much time, Gabe, or?
Well, not just how much time, but what are we time blocking? Lead gen is a little vague. I mean, what are we doing? I heard door knocking, that's hyper specific. There's no confusion on that, right? What else would we time block? Oh,
Phone calls,
Yeah, like cold calling.
phone calls. Very nice.
or time to make a post for your Instagram, or time to make a post for your LinkedIn.
That's a huge one because, and I'll say why that's such a big one. Robert can probably relate. If you don't time block when you're going to open up your social media and close your social media,
Yeah.
create a post and look up and it's time for bed. And you're like, holy cow, what happened? So time blocking is incredibly important with stuff like that. Checking your emails as well. Like, hey, I got 15 minutes to check my emails and then I'm done. I got to close my emails because that's all I'm doing for the emails. So really important. Yeah. Social media, love that. 100%. I have another idea that some people can maybe adopt. You can start to almost theme days for yourself. And I'll give you an example. So Mondays is when I shoot videos. Wednesdays is when I brainstorm ideas for my next week of videos. And that's just a more of a general concept, but you on Mondays I'm going to shoot a video. There's no debating that. Tuesdays I don't shoot a video. Mondays I shoot a video. Wednesdays I think of value. I think of what am I going to create next week. So you can start to create themes for your actual days of the week. And there's nothing wrong with doing that either. So you can almost start to separate what your days look like, and then you have that lead gen going on. So I hope that makes sense. It's almost like the micro time blocking is for 2 hours, I'm going to make my calls. The macro time blocking is on Mondays, I shoot videos. For 2 hours, I shoot my videos. I don't shoot videos any other day of the week. So you can almost time block a few different ways that way. Okay. Now, on the book, there's actually a really cool concept. And this was not in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. This is fairly new to the rookie real estate agent. And it's called, oh, let me give you the page. Sorry. So on the book, it's page 134, and on the workbook, it's page 13. Okay. And this is called the Rookie Energy Plan. And this is about fueling yourself first. We all have heard the saying, put your oxygen mask on you before you put it on others, right? You have to take care of yourself first. So we're going to walk through, I'm going to open up my handbook as well here. So we're going to walk through what the rookie energy plan is. So step number 1, meditate and pray for spiritual energy. Now there's a few ways you can view that. I view that as almost like a cushion around me. I wake up, well, I used to wake up. Now I'm sleeping on the couch because of my legs. So my life is a little different right now. But normally I wake up at 4:30. And the only reason I wake up at 4:30 is because that gives me about 30 to 45 minutes of total quiet with no one else in the way. And you can call that spiritual, you can call it meditation, you can call it reading time, you can call it journaling, but I need that cushion. So what this is saying is figure out when you can have that quiet time. Meditate and pray for spiritual energy. That does not mean while you're driving. Don't try to squeeze this in. Okay. The first thing you do. Okay. Number 2, journal and reflect for mental energy. If you are a person that uses a goal planner, this is where you would revisit your goals. And then maybe you even put like, what is the one thing that you're going to accomplish today? So you're journaling. Number 3, exercise and eat for physical energy. So now we're getting a little bit more practical where you're actually moving your body and fueling your body. Number 4, family time for emotional energy. So we're talking about all different types of energy systems, okay? We're talking about spiritual, mental, physical, emotional. And then last but not least is planning and time blocking for business energy. And the concept here is that if you can knock these things out, not that you should just like rush them, but if you can accomplish these things beginning the day in the morning, then you are going to be setting yourself up to win the day. And for those of you that don't kind of know the concept is the goal of an agent is to get your lead gen, unless you have a really specific event happening, you're trying to get your lead gen done before noon. Because afternoon is for appointments and things like that. Now, some people door knock after, and I understand that, but that's the general idea. Okay. Morning, you're getting your rookie energy plan. Morning, you're doing your lead gen. Afternoon, you have your appointments. Okay. And the idea here, and this is going to be borrowed from Atomic Habits, the idea here is that you're creating a habit stack. You're doing multiple things all at the same time so you can adopt all of them at the same time. For example, most people will brush their teeth, wash their face at the same sink visit. Okay, they don't brush their teeth and then they come back in 5 minutes and wash their face, and then they come back in 5 minutes and they do their skincare routine. Most people do all those things at the same time. Okay, a lot of people go grocery shopping, they bring the groceries home, and they immediately start cooking for the rest of the week. They habit stack all those things together. This is that same concept. You're trying to do multiple things together so that they become one habit. That's what habit stacking is called. Okay, so the idea here is you're going to stack all of these things together. You're going to spend some quiet time. You're going to journal. You're going to exercise and eat. You're going to have some family time, whatever that looks like. And then you're going to plan and time block for your business energy. Okay, so that's the rookie energy plan. I love that they introduced this. They did not have this before, and I think it's a great idea. Okay. Oops, I should have looked ahead. So we have here the early morning is for you. Mornings are working on the business. Afternoons are working in your business. Okay. Evenings are for reflection and recharging. So if you go to page 14 of the workbook, you can see a little bit closer. Okay. So this is the exact example I was giving you here. So early morning, you're doing the rookie energy plan. Define early morning, right? That's going to be relative to everybody. But then in the morning time, you are doing your lead gen, your lead follow-up, you're doing your role play, your presentation. Okay, you're working on your business. And then in the afternoon, you are doing your appointments. You're meeting with buyers, meeting with sellers, showing properties. You're doing more lead follow-up. Now, if you don't have appointments, then you're going to be going to trainings. You're going to be previewing inventory on, Broker Caravan, things like that. Okay. You're going to add contacts. This is where in the mornings, if you had a conversation with somebody, maybe you write a quick note about what's going on. Maybe they just got a new puppy. Okay. So you're going to write a quick note on that. And then in the afternoon, you're going to go in your database and you're going to update that person's information. Got a new puppy or whatever. Okay. So this is where you're going to be now working in your business. You're going to be doing all those things. And then in the evenings, recreation, reflection, rest, let yourself recharge. Okay. So has anybody kind of fallen into this? Does anybody have a routine that's kind of like this?
Actually do in early morning gratitude, like what I'm grateful for, things in my life that's tends to be kind of sort of meditation, I guess.
Love it. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I'm a Christian, so I read my Bible and I have a devotions book that I usually work through and I'll journal. So and that's my time. That's kind of always been my time. So I'm a morning person, which definitely helps. But here's what I would like us to do. I want us to go to page 15 of the workbook, and I want us to work on designing your day. For some of you, you've this already exists in your brain, and I'm just going to have you put it on paper. Okay. And if you need a copy from the example, that's totally fine. Maybe you haven't had a ton of appointments, but now you know where you would put them. So go ahead. We're just going to spend a few minutes on this.
That's why I was complaining to you. This is a problem with energy. The evening is a problem. The weekend is a problem. The ceiling. There you go. No, the other one. So this, I go. This, yes, or weekend is the problem. Yes, yeah. Yeah. But saying rest. Yeah. Can't understand. And what goes back to that. So we need to protect everybody for technology.
Like for me, I have the Gabe taught me this. He said, I have to every 7 months. I usually special with but I do if they do the thing. That's my
Okay, guys, now we're gonna move on. Again, hopefully this is enough to grease the wheels, and then you guys can kind of chew on this later. And by all means, if you have questions about this, I would happily take a call with you. We can discuss it. I'd encourage you to take or compare notes with a buddy if you guys want to share how you guys are doing with this. So now, again, I love that. I think I truly might like this book. Don't tell anyone I told you this. I think I might like the Rookie Real Estate Agent book more than the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, just because it's very practical, and I think it talks a lot about like the success habits and the things that I think are really important. Now, don't get me wrong. When you pass that $200,000 mark and it's time for you to start hiring, the red book comes into play huge. But for right now, the Rookie Real Estate Agent book is really important. So we have here that they've created this almost rhythm of when these things should be happening. And I absolutely love this. So you can see here on, is it on yours? Let me see. Yeah, it is. On page, no, it's not. Then look at the screen. So they have a success habits to time block, how often you should be putting these things on your calendar. So I'll read them to you. I hope it's big enough on your screen. So daily, you should be doing the rookie energy plan. Daily, you should be doing role play. Now, here's what I'm going to have us do. I'm going to stop on number 2. Look at us. Raise your hand if you do role play annually, at least once a year. Raise your hand nice and high. Be proud of it. At least once a year.
Annually?
Annually. Yes. I'm trying to get everyone's hands up in the air. You've done role play once a year. All right. Now, if you've done it monthly, keep your hands up in the air. Weekly. Daily.
Oh, yeah, I did.
All right. Very nice.
Good
So
job.
guys, I mean this when I say it. The number one thing you have to do is just play and role play. Have fun with it. Have fun with it, okay? Work on the questions on everybody you meet. Just imagine, could it be possible? How important is it? These are not real estate things. These are just good questions, okay? You're going to practice your presentation. I heard it said, and I think it's actually a really funny take. Somebody said that real estate agents are the only people that practice on their clients.
Oh.
And it's right. I mean, and it's true. You know, we're like, okay, I've practiced my buyer presentation one time. I'm ready for the appointment. Can you imagine a surgeon says that? They're like, yeah, I did it once. I'm ready. I feel pretty confident. Like, oh, no. Okay. So you should be practicing that, and then lead gen and lead follow-up. On a weekly basis, you should be reviewing your goals. And that just means checking them and seeing if you're on track or not. It doesn't mean you're doing math or anything. Just real quick check. You should be creating your plan, time blocking, and maintaining your database. On a monthly, you should be reviewing your budget. Again, you're a rookie real estate agent. Your budget should not be a very intricate thing yet, but you should be checking on that. I know I've been guilty of, Robert's going to laugh at this. I've been guilty of having like 4 different subscriptions to like AI things. And I'm like, oh, I got to get rid of at least 2 of these. Okay. So reviewing your budget, how many Netflix accounts do you really need? Pipeline review, P&L, tracking your budget. Those are all similar. So monthly is financial. Quarterly taxes. That's a thing. Education, that should not be quarterly, but maybe that means like large education events, but we're doing education every day here. And then lead generation review. What does that mean? What does lead generation review mean? What do you guys think it means?
Qualifying your leads,
Say that again.
qualifying the prospect, the lead.
I would say that's under pipeline review monthly. Lead generation review is a little different.
Okay.
Good. I mean, you're on the right track though.
Would that be reviewing to see if that lead generation is working for you and maybe you need to change it?
100%. Yes. So that would say reviewing all of your lead generation sources and seeing what's giving you leads and what's not. And I want you to notice something. This is done quarterly, which means you need to give it 3 months of effort before you bail on it. Okay, us real estate agents, we have what's called shiny object syndrome, where we watch a webinar and we're like, I'm totally going to do this. And then you try it for a week and you're like, "Ah, it doesn't work." And then you switch to something else. And that is a nightmare to do. So reviewing what's working, what isn't, by how the leads are coming through on a quarterly basis. That means if you decide to do mailers, I mean, honestly, you're going to need to give yourself a few quarters on the mailers, maybe 3 quarters, but that means giving it a fair chance. Okay. And then annually, you're reviewing and reflecting how things are going. Are you enjoying your cold calling journey? You know, are you enjoying working from home, or, you know, what needs to change? And then goal planning, right? Towards the end of the year, we do our goal planning and we look at what worked, what didn't work, what should we stop doing, what should we do more of? Okay. So I love this concept. I've never seen it written out so cleanly. But again, this wasn't in the previous book before. So here's what I would like us to do. Are there any big ahas? Any questions? Anyone want to share? Give me 2 ahas. I'm a seasoned teacher. Silence does not bother me.
Well, role play is every day of the week, so, yeah, that's a. More, it's not like an aha, it's not like I didn't know I should be doing it, but I didn't know I should be doing it every day of the week, and I'm clearly not doing it every day.
Yep. People asked Gary Keller once, they said, what is the most important thing that agents should do but don't do? And without missing a beat, he said role play. They should be role playing every single day. One more aha.
Time blocking.
Time block. What about it?
Just making an intention to create the time to do what's important. I tend to be like a bit of a go with the flow kind of guy, so time blocking is probably a very important thing to implement for me. Yeah.
Very nice. Good. Yeah. It's wild to me that we, from kindergarten through at least high school, you live on a time block schedule, right? Like math never just ran over science time. Like it just didn't work. Like they had literally had a bell that goes off to tell you to switch to a new time block. And then we just totally ditch it. Yeah, and again, it doesn't mean that's the best way, but at least having some of those time blocks has value. Okay. Okay. So now we're going to move on to the financials. The good news is that if you were at Heath Hilgenberg's class, which was in the main conference room, his entire class was on this concept. So a lot of this is going to be a really a very recent refresher. And for those of you that have not done that class, then we're going to go through this and you can ask some questions if you have any. Okay. So we're going to be talking about the financials. Okay. Building a solid foundation for your real estate career is crucial, and it is important to the success and longevity. Real estate is a really it's a flash in the pan business. Suddenly you get $30,000 and then you could go 2 months without anything. So creating some type of a longevity and predictability is incredibly important to a rookie real estate agent. And again, notice here it says getting to 6 figures. That is the goal of this book, of this course. Okay. So we're going to be understanding how money works, and we're going to be talking about this. So where we're going to be is on workbook page 19. And we're going to be touching on two different models. And again, I'm not saying throw out the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, because we're going to be talking about two of the models. We're going to be talking about the budget model and the economic model. And we're going to be talking about earning a net income. I want us to really quickly separate two things. There is a huge difference between an agent that sells $50 million of real estate and has a GCI of $300,000 and how much they're actually netting in profit. We have heard of some horror stories where people are earning $600,000 and they're taking home like $80,000. That's not an exaggeration. It wasn't at our market center, but we've heard multiple stories that rhyme with that. Okay. So it is so important that we understand that the goal of your real estate business is to earn a profit, not to sell a lot of homes, not to have a high GCI, but to earn a high profit. Okay, that's the whole name of the game. Anyone that says otherwise is lying. So we're going to get into let's just talk about some terms. Okay, so we have GCI, gross commission income, cost of sale. Does everyone remember what that means? That means that is what it costs to actually, when you actually transact. So this could be referral fees. It could be the splits to your brokerage. If you're on a team, the split to the team. These are fees that only come up when you transact. Okay. Expenses. So these are all other business costs. So this is where we're going to get into your MLS dues, your E&O insurance, your association dues, all of those random costs. So if it's not a cost of sale, it's a business expense if it's coming out of your account. Okay. And then net income is going to be about where's your profit. Net income and profit is the same concept. We don't talk about taxes here because taxes is so elaborate. Some of you have investment properties and you're married and you're filing jointly and this, that, and the other. So we're not going to touch on taxes, but just understand it is important that you set tax money aside. Okay. And I highly recommend you set it aside at a different bank that is not convenient to use. That's what I've always done. All right. So here is the rookie budget model in all of its glory. So you have here that a budget is an estimate of income and expenses, and the model works on a framework of a 60-20-20, okay? Which means the goal is to have a profit margin of 60%. Now, no one is ever going to look at your statements. Like, let's say you have a CPA, and they're not going to say like 59% profit margin. Are you kidding me? You're supposed to do 60. The goal is to get close to these numbers. If somebody had these exact numbers, I mean, that would be kind of strange, to be honest. Like, the goal is to get in line with this, because what we see over and over again is the cost of sale maybe is about 20 to 30%. But then we see the expenses is like 40 or 50%, because this agent they're paying $6,000 on leads, and they have all types of extra CRMs and all this extra crap, and their profit, their net income ends up being 20%. It's all out of whack. Their 20% cost of sale, 60% expenses, and 20% profit. So the goal is that the profit is 60%. Okay. So are we all on the same page with that? Do we understand that that is what the goal is? Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. So let's get into an example here. So we have here a financial or an example. So this agent's goal is to earn $100,000. So what we have to do is we almost have to reverse engineer that. And we have to say that that means that their GCI is going to have to be $166,666. I know it's very specific, but in order to end up at a round number of 100,000, they have to split it up this way, which means their cost of sale is around 20%. Now, the cool thing about this, guys, is who here is an agent at Keller Williams? Raise your hand. All right, so my mic is working. Perfect. Okay, so $33,000 as a cost of sale, which is the split with the brokerage or the team or whatever else you're doing, that looks awfully close to what our cap is here at Keller Williams, doesn't it? So the really cool thing about this model as it lines up with a Keller Williams agent is as soon as you start earning beyond this, that cost of sale goes from 20% to 0%. Does that make sense? Do we understand why that happens? Because there's no more split to the brokerage. So where do you think that 20% should be allocated to?
Hawaii.
Yes, yes, correct answer. It should be directed back to you. Now, here's the thing. You could say, well, I want to put a little bit back in my business. Like maybe I'll take 15% and I'll put 5% towards business expenses. Yes. Or you say, well, I really want I want to keep growing my business. So I'm going to put 10% towards business expenses and 10% towards my profit. Yes, that's totally fine. Okay. But the goal, the idea is when you have a capping model, the cost of sale is not a forever percentage, whereas business expenses is. Okay. So the next time, let's just use a really easy math here. Let's say this exact number happens. You've capped at Keller Williams and you earn another commission check. And let's just say it's $100 because I can't do math that well, guys. Okay. So $20 will go towards your business expenses as it should. And then you will get $80 towards your profit margin. I mean, that and forever until you reset your cap for that 12-month window. So the reason why I love the budget model as it pertains to Keller Williams is because the cost of sale right here is a cap. That is your cap at the office. Okay. So is there any confusion on that? Does that part make sense, guys?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So again, I love that this works so well with so many things. The goal of this course is to get agents to get to $100,000. And that is exactly what would cap you. And that is exactly what would get your cost of sale to 0%. I mean, so many things fall in line with this exact number. Okay. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to, hold on, let me see what page 19 to 20. And I want you to play with this. You are going to create your own economic model. So what you're going to do, I'm going to read the instructions here, okay? Because I've never walked people through this here. So you're going to fill out rows A to D. And you can use the exact amounts from the previous slide if your net income goal is 100,000, you can essentially fill in the blanks A through D of what your operating expenses would be, what your cost of sale would be, what your net income would be, and then what your total GCI would have to be. And again, maybe that is actually what you want to do. So that's super cool if that is. And then I'll just keep talking while you guys are doing this. You're going to put in the average commission check that you will earn as an agent. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to put you in a post mentorship phase, but a pre-capper phase. So meaning you're not on like a 50-50 split. You're on a normal 70-30 or 80-20, 75-25, whatever split. And you are going to put your average commission check. So we're going to put $15,000 or $20,000 in that slot. whatever you think it would be. But that's, I'm gonna give you a range. In other words, don't put $100,000 there, okay? Just don't do it. And when you divide that into your total GCI that's needed, it's going to tell you what your annual transaction goal is gonna be. So if you use the number, oh, and by the way, welcome to Keller Williams. Any decimal point, you round up. So if you're following the exact example that it gave, it's going to give you an annual transaction goal of 8.33333333. Make that a 9. Now, just borrowing from what you're going to have in command, because by the way, you can do this in command. And I love that we're doing it on paper, but just understand that command has this as an option where you could just go to goals or reports and goals, and then you can adjust what your goal is for the year. So a lot of this is already done for you, but it is nice to kind of see how it's made in the behind the scenes. But just so you know, what a lot of the command does is it gives 75% conversion rates for everything. So 75 conversion rates, 75% conversion rate from a contract to an escrow, from an escrow to a close, from an appointment to a contract. So 75% a lot of times is what they're using. I think it's a little generous on the appointment to the contract, but it also kind of cancels out because when you open up an escrow, I like to think we have a higher than 75% chance of closing that escrow. I mean, don't get me wrong, they do fall through sometimes, but so I think it ends up being a wash. But 75% is easy to remember. And by the way, you will get to a point where you have your own conversion rates. And by the way, conversion rates, and we're going to get into conversion rates shortly, but I love the idea of conversion rates because if you think of your business like an assembly line, your conversion rates are different stations of that assembly line. So if for whatever reason we meet with an agent and their escrows keep falling through, then we know that there's something broken in that part of the assembly line and we need to go into their systems. What are you doing with the contracts? Do you know your contracts? What are you saying to your clients? What are you saying to the home inspector? How are you presenting the inspection reports? If we see somebody's conversion rate is really bad on the appointment to the contract, well, let's take a look at that part of the assembly line. Maybe they're missing objection handlers. They're not sure what questions to ask. Maybe they're talking themselves out of the deal. So I love conversion rates because it really gives you a snapshot of, if I was an assembly line, what part of my assembly line is broken? Like where's everything backing up? And then we go in and fix that. So let's get into that now that we're talking about conversion rates. So conversion rates, they show how skilled you are at moving people through phases of a transaction. That's the exact analogy that I just gave. You have different rates for different parts. Appointments to agreements, that's to contracts, contracts to closings, and we will very quickly, we'll start to see if somebody, and we've seen it before where somebody they keep losing escrows, they keep getting cancellations. So we're like, okay, well, something's wrong in that part. So we meet with them about that. Okay, so let me see. Let me move up to where we are. So here is an example of a conversion rate. So let's pretend you have 15 appointments. I almost want to go in this in reverse order. So in row B, that's the number of appointments that you've been on. So again, if you have this example, if you got let's just say you got 10 contracts signed this last year. You would write a number 10 there. Sorry. If you went on 10 appointments, you would write a number 10 there. And then you look to yourself and you say, well, okay, great. I only got 3 contracts signed. Well, then in row A, you'd write a number 3 there. And then you would divide those. You would say, I went on 10 appointments, but I only got 3 agreements signed. My conversion rate is 30%, which, by the way, we would never put anyone in the hot seat, but we would take a really close look at what's going on in your business and what are you saying to those clients. And again, this is why I said conversion rates are really powerful, because you can start to figure out your conversion rates in different stages. So if you went on an appointment, I love appointments because they're really easy to see on your calendar. Okay, my appointments on my calendar are red. So if I look at a glance, I could see every appointment that I had. So if you went on 5 appointments this last year and you got 4 agreements signed, that's great. You have an 80% conversion rate. That's solid. That's pretty good. Now the game is, we just got to get more appointments. Okay. So here's what I would like you to do. We're going to move to the next line, and I want you to calculate your conversion rates if you have them. So this is going to be on page 21 of your workbook. Oh yeah, here you go. These are the 2 conversion rates that are really important. You're going to look at how many appointments. Yeah, my brain goes backwards maybe. You're going to look how many appointments you had. That's the one on the right. And then you're going to look to see how many contracts you actually got signed, right? And then you're going to take that number over to the number of contracts. And then you're going to put, well, how many closings did I actually get? And it's going to give you a conversion rate on those. And again, if you don't have any of these numbers yet, that's okay. For now, what command has you use is 75%. So now we're going to bring it all together, and we're going to go to the economic model. And this is going to be on workbook pages 19 to 20. This is where we were before. And you're going to go back and you're going to plug in what your conversion rates were. So if you're looking on page 20, you can see that you can put your closing conversion rate and your appointment conversion rate. Okay. And here's the thing, guys. I know it's a lot of work to do this. And again, command does it for you. But when you can get all of these big, scary goals and all of these things that you're going to get done, and you get it boiled down to one appointment number, you feel a weight lift off your shoulders. You're like, wait a minute. So in order to get $100,000, I just need to go on 11 appointments. That's it. That's all you have to do. Now the game is, how can I show enough value and get enough people to meet with me to create 11 appointments? Like, that is the goal. That is the one number you're chasing. Okay. And then you could see on the example here. So this is the example that it used. See, this is not accurate because our average commission fee, all commissions are negotiable, but our average commission is higher than $10,000 on average. But they use $10,000. So this person, in order to net $100,000, is going to need a number of transactions of 17. Then if I'm willing to bet, there you go. And then using the conversion rates, they're going to need to go on 31 appointments. Now that might seem like a lot. And the reason it seems like a lot is because their average commission check is $10,000. Okay, so change that number and the final appointment number would change quite a bit. It's going to be lower than that. All right, and then the goal here, guys, is to actually, on page 20, is to figure out what your actual appointment goal is. Now, here's the kicker, guys. If we lost you, then book a Zoom call with me. I can't go into the office for another couple weeks. Book a Zoom call with me, and we will walk you through so that you have your appointment number. I do not want you to go into next year's plans without an appointment number to chase. That is the most important number that you can get out of this, okay? All right, guys. So now we're going to finish up with our fourth section here. We're not going to do the role play like I talked about. We're going to do the database section more importantly. The numbers may have changed, but does anybody know what is the percentage when an agent closes their first deal? What is the percentage or the likelihood that it is somebody that they already knew? Does anybody know what number that is?
How much?
30, we put aside
30%?
to put us.
Oh, to put aside, yeah. Well, what's the, say the question again, Gabe?
What is the likelihood, a percentage? What is the likelihood that somebody, their first deal comes from somebody they already know, like if they're already in their database?
100%.
Yeah, you know what? I would be surprised if it was. It's actually like 85%. And I do need to get an updated figure. 85% of the time, when somebody closes their very first deal, it's from somebody that they already know. And I'm one of those people. I was at a Bible study and somebody had a prayer request that their parents were getting evicted and they had never owned a house before. And after we kind of finished the group, I ran over to them. I said, I want to meet with your parents. I want to see if I could help them. I helped them find and buy their very first property. It was my first transaction and it was from somebody that I had already known. So I'm an example of that person. Okay. So all this to say, do not overlook your database. That is your most important asset as a real estate agent. Okay. Now, we have two different CTAs. I almost fell into the trap. The CTA used to stand for call to action, and it still does, but they have two uses for CTA. Okay. Now, the CTA is one of them is call to action. We already know that one. That's from marketing, right? That a call to action is DM or send me market for a market update report and I'll email it to you. That's a call to action. It's also a MOFR, kind of one and the same. But they have a new concept, which is cultivate, tending, and automation. So let's kind of break this down. Cultivate is generating more leads. Tending is keeping stored information accurate and up to date. So you're tending the people that are already in your database. So cultivating is getting more people. Tending is reaching out to them, updating their information. Did they just have a baby? Did they just get a job change? Automation, being consistent with outreach and tracking results, often with leverage. So automation is a system. You have a system in place to reach out to these people, okay? So here's what I would like us to do. We're going to move down to one of my favorite visuals. I think this is I'm in love with this visual. They have another one that Robert actually got me in the past, but this is the lead generation model. This is real estate as a snapshot. It's right here. This is everything you need to know. Okay, I'll make it bigger if I can. It is figuring out a way to get leads. And now that is through prospecting or marketing. Remember, marketing is more one to many. It's a billboard, it's a flyer, it's posting on social media. Marketing is reaching out to people, calling them, texting them, sending them direct messages, okay, having coffees. That's what prospecting is. It's more one-to-one. That is how you get leads. You then put those leads into your database and they become contacts. And then the goal is that they turn into appointments. Okay. So agents who consistently lead generate will have stable, growing businesses no matter the market. The reason why a database is so important is because when the real estate market goes up, down, sideways, if you've already created relationships with your database, it doesn't matter. If somebody dies or is born or is having a divorce, they're going to reach out to you and you're going to be reaching out to them. Okay. And here you go. Prospecting is active and direct. Marketing is passive and indirect. All right. Now here are the prospecting and marketing activities. So we have here prospecting, active and direct. We have quarterly calls. We have text. Let me make it bigger, guys. We have text outreach. We have appointment. Sorry, apartment canvassing, networking, door knocking. Remember, this is all belly to belly stuff. Okay, and then marketing. This is the indirect. You have online advertising, offline advertising, you have mailers, you have flyers, you have newsletters, you have blogs, you have videos, vlogs, and then both would be open houses, seminars, community events, social media, email. The reason I like the both is because it starts off as a one-to-many, and there's a lot of opportunities to turn it into a one-to-one. So if I have an open house, I'm going to post about it. My sign's out there. Who wants to stop by? And then as people stop by, I have conversations with them. Seminars. Let's teach you about what it looks like to downsize. And then, oh, you have a question for me? Yeah, let's have a conversation. Community event. These are all the same concepts, okay? So you can do both, but I just want you to understand the difference between prospecting and marketing. Now, here's where a lot of agents get stuck. They get stuck in marketing. They get stuck posting on social media and then expecting everybody to come kick their door in because they're so amazing. Okay, or like, I shot a video, I posted it, I'm ready for all these phone calls, baby. Here it comes. Okay, that's not how it works. It has to be a layer effect. Yes, you're going to do marketing and you're going to do prospecting. You have to do both. Okay. Now, question: who here is having a lot of success with any of these? No one's having success with anything.
Yeah, Perry's doing door knocking.
Back after the fire, got tons of calls from all the people I met door knocking.
Ah.
They were planning to sell, and of course now are debating whether to rebuild or sell.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to talk about the pros and the cons of these. Okay. So you got a classic time versus money thing. So if you have a lot of money, you can kind of make up for not spending a lot of time. Okay. If you don't have a lot of money, you can make up for that by spending a lot of time. So I'll give you an example. If you don't have the funds to send out mailers, that's totally fine. You can go and use your Lamborghinis. You can go put your shoes on and go knock on some doors. That costs $0, but it's a lot of time. Okay. On the flip, if you have finally made it and you're like, I'm not door knocking anymore, I'm sending mailers every single month, that's great. Just know that it's going to cost money. Okay. When it comes to kind of talking about the market stuff, you have two different kinds of market updates. You have the market of the moment, and then you have evergreen marketing. So let's give you an example. Market of the moment, unfortunately, fires, right? And then soon after that, flooding. It was like an episode of Jumanji, right? Like there was always something that was happening that was very, very timely. I talked about the 50-year mortgage, right? Super timely. People may have questions about that. Evergreen is, what does it look like to downsize? What does it look like to buy one property while you sell another? That's pretty consistently the same year over year. That's what evergreen marketing is. And it's important that you just understand the difference between those, okay? If somebody just purchased a home, I'm not going to send them materials on what it looks like to move. They're probably not going to move for a while, but I could send them materials on what does supplemental tax look like? Are there tax break on solar panels anymore? Things that are more evergreen because they don't need timely stuff quite yet when it comes to moving. So it just makes sense. It is important to understand the difference between those marketing materials. Okay, so those are the two things. You have market of the moment and you have an evergreen marketing materials. Okay. So I'm going to read this one because it's pretty good. A good rule of thumb for any agent is to stick to the rule of four lead gen activities at a time. Now, I'm probably, they don't have the visual here, do they? They used to have a visual here, and it showed it's called the rule of four, and it showed that agents were getting, I think, around 80% of their business from one lead source. So obviously, that's a really important one. The second closest lead source was giving them a 40% return. Okay, they were getting 40% of their business from that second lead source. And then it consistently got cut in half. The third one, I think, was around 20 or 15. So, and then as soon as it passed the third one, it was just 7%, 8%, 6%, 5%. It was almost not worth the time. So what you want to do is figure out what 3 to 4 lead gen sources are driving your business. And we talked about that, right? Reviewing your lead sources. Where are they coming from? Eventually, you will start to notice a trend. And as soon as you can identify, like, oh, these are the 3 things that consistently bring me all my business, great. Stop everything else. Stop doing every other thing and pour everything you have into these 3 lead gen sources, because that is what's working. Okay, so it's just that it's a consistent rule. They call it the rule of 4. I personally think of it more as the rule of 3, because I see the return on those 3 more than anything. But you don't want to have a 5 and a 6 and a 7. Okay, does that make sense, guys? All right.
What if you don't know where to start, Gabe? Pick which 4.
What's that?
What if you what if you don't know where to start on which 4 to pick?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, so we have a few tools that can help with that. We can take your KPA, and that will give you a good example of what lead gen sources you should consider first. But when in doubt, database is going to be the number 1 right there. So, I mean, that should be the very first one. And then I think this is kind of the fun part about real estate is you can kind of choose one. Remember, we said quarterly, right? You can kind of choose one that you kind of have a bent towards, like you really enjoy that style, and then see how it goes. And then after a while, you'll need somebody that is level-headed. They're not in your business, they're outside looking in, and they'll say, "Why are you still doing this?" "Oh, because it's what I'm known for." "You've gotten no business from this. Why are you still doing this?" Because there's nowhere else to go. If you're not getting any business from a certain lead gen source, or you're not getting any returns, it is time to consider switching. Okay. So let's see. So this is now. So that was the cultivate. Now we're going to talk about tending your database. So here's what you're going to be doing. 3 key parts. First, you're going to choose your container. That's command. Okay, I feel like they should have, it's supposed to be a brand agnostic book, but pretend that says choose command. Okay, it is free. It is included in your KW membership. So you already have command. You're going to start putting people in command if you have not already. Then fill it over time. And I personally kind of view this as a fun thing, because what command will do is it will give you a percentage score. It will say your database health score is 32%. And we would say, man, you don't have very much information in your database. Like, you have their names, great, but command is telling us that you don't have a lot of information. So the game now is going to be go through all of your database and try to get everyone's email address. Okay, great. Now your database health score is 45%. Cool. Let's go back to your database and try to get everyone's address. Now, there are tactics on how you can do that. Okay. Hey, I know you moved recently. I like to send really hyper local market updates. Are you still at 123 Banana Street? Oh, you're on Apple Lane. Well, you know what? Is it okay if I update your address here so I can give you really up-to-date information on what homes are selling and what's going on in your neighborhood? Okay. Or you don't have their email address. Like, hey, I send this newsletter that talks about all the new changes that are going on in the real estate market. The next edition we're talking about is the tax change that's for solar panels and the 50-year mortgage. What's your best email address? Okay. Use that same line for everybody. Get all their information. Okay. And then finally, when you have a database health score of 70%, awesome. Now go through and try to get some notes on these people. Put them on some smart plans. Okay. Tag them. You're going to organize and categorize people within your database. So what are some tags that we have used? And Robert's not allowed to answer.
So the question is, what tags you use for your database in order to sort it?
Yeah,
Well, you could do something simple like buyer, seller. Which one
love
are they?
that. Yep, I think that's a great starting point. Buyer, seller.
Or if you met them on a certain type of property and they liked it, but they didn't buy it. That property, like I have lists of people who went and saw or have inquired about certain properties, and then if I sell another property like that, I send that new property to all those people.
Love that. Yep. What else? You guys are still on the real estate mode of things, which again, that's correct. But how else can we use tags?
You can tag them on how you met them. Or if you've met them, first of all, and then how you met them, yeah.
Met and unmet. That's a good one. Yep. Met and unmet. Or non-met, unmet.
What communities they belong to, whether you like church or, you know, you went to like a wine tasting event.
Love that. Yes. And I think as soon as you get into that, you start to branch open into more and more things, right? Like what interests? I have my database, I have a tons of law enforcement in my database, and I have the tag LEO, law enforcement officer, Leo. And I have, I think, 30 because I was in the CrossFit space. So many in my database. Have I used it yet? Not really. But if there's an event that I think law enforcement would be interested in, I can mass email all of those people. Or if they have kids, or if they have elderly parents, or, pickleball. I mean, you could start to use as many tags as you want, but it doesn't hurt to have tags. It really helps you organize things. And I like what Helen said, because let's say that you had a really unique property that was a duplex, and everybody that stopped through your open house, you tag them as multifamily or duplex. And then you find out that maybe there's an off market opportunity for a duplex. So all you have to do is look for every duplex tag you have, and voila, 35 qualified and interested people that you can say to your client, hey, I have a list of 35 people that I can talk to about this property. So tags are super important in that way. Let's see, I think there's actually a slide. Yeah, so here are some examples of popular tags for rookies. Met and haven't met. SOI, sphere of influence. Renter, past client. Do not call. I don't know if I just keep those people on there. Incomplete. I think incomplete's actually a pretty good one. Like, let's just pretend you just didn't get something. And let's just say, for whatever reason, you're bored on a certain day, like you did everything you were supposed to do. And you're like, well, I have a list of 30 incomplete people. Let me see what I'm missing for these people, and just try to complete what information you're missing. Homeowner, qualified, referral, and then you can get hyper specific. I think somebody said church, pickleball, nurse, medical. I mean, you name it. But this is where your database starts to become really, really personalized to how you're wired. Okay. All right. So
I also like this, Gabe, because then you can look at your tags in your database and see what you have the most of, and then go, okay, I need to do this kind of event. I need to do an event at church. I need to do a pickleball event. Like it starts to show patterns that you didn't even know existed in your own sphere.
yeah, love that. Yep. Okay, so automate your database. So this is the third part of the CTA, and I think a lot of people have a love-hate relationship with this idea to automate things. They think, well, Gabe, these are relationships. Like, I don't want to automate them. To which I would say, do you have any birthdays saved in your Google Calendar? Does that mean you're a jerk? Does that mean like, "Ugh, you need a reminder to tell you?" No, it just helps. It doesn't hurt to not have it. So there are touch plans that you can absolutely use in Command, and we have some that we've designed that I actually think we're going to be updating. The cool thing about Command is you can see lots of things that people have used, and you can kind of adopt them. You can download those smart plans. But they're systematic automated touches over a long period of time. A really simple one is a neighborhood nurture. There's no reason people in your database should not at least have a neighborhood nurture. You could put them on a birthday plan. I mean, you could put them on so many automations. And by the way, a lot of automations are internal, meaning command is going to tell you to reach out to that person. Okay, so if you're really one of those people that's like, I do not want an automatic text going out, they're going to know it's not me. Okay, have it text you. Hey, call Cynthia. It's her birthday. Okay, I'm going to call Cynthia. It's her birthday. And then Cynthia on the other line's like, Gabe is so thoughtful. He's never missed my birthday. There you go. Okay, so you can use it that way. And then campaign strategic plans of action based on a single event or a goal. So a really good campaign is an open house campaign. You meet somebody at an open house, you drop all their contacts into command, and they initiate an open house campaign that maybe reminds you to reach out to them once a week for 8 weeks. That's called an 8x8. So now here's why this is all important. I love this visual. Jason Abrams brought it to life, I don't know, maybe a couple years ago. But we know that people move every 10 years. That's just the average. It's gone up and up and up where we live. But unexpected life events happen. Or maybe they know of somebody that's on an alternating schedule than they are. But we know, let me zoom in on this one, that people are going to buy homes at these 3 peaks, and these are separated by 10 years. So really simple, oversimplified, first time purchase, their move up purchase to their forever home, and they're empty nesters, so maybe they go into a downsized property. Okay, first time purchase, maybe this is a move up purchase, and then maybe this is a secondary home, a vacation home that you refer them out to something. But we know that every 10 years, people are going to buy. Now, what I want people to understand is the magic that happens in the middle here. Because in the middle here is where most agents entirely ghost them. An agent says, well, I'm not going to get any money out of you, so I'll talk to you in 8 years. Okay. The challenge is, can you call them quarterly? Can you reach out to them every once in a while? Maybe you invite them to a client event, because in between here is a landfill, a gold mine of referrals. Because in between here, maybe a cousin gets married, maybe a brother gets divorced, maybe a grandparent passes, and they haven't heard from you in here, they're going to forget about you. Okay. So, in my opinion, this is the easy part, helping them buy when it's time to buy. I think that's kind of like the low hanging fruit. The magic is in this lull where most other agents go to sleep. Okay. Is, can you stay, oops, man, what in the world did I do? Can you stay top of mind during these lulls? And look, it says here, so you are actually, you're pulling money out, you're withdrawing when it's time for them to purchase, you're cashing in on that relationship. You're like, hey, we've been talking for 10 years, let's do this transaction together. And they say, okay, absolutely. But the only reason they say yes, absolutely, is because during these 10 years, you're making deposits of value. Okay, you're inviting them to a pie party, you're giving them a market update report, you're sending them a video saying, hey, we missed you at our client event, hopefully we can get you next time. Okay, so you're making deposits in the lulls and you're cashing in on the peaks. Does that part make sense, guys? Why and why it's so hard for people to do that?
Yes.
All right, so this slide here is talking about the 36 touch campaign. This is, if you can automate this, then this part becomes a no-brainer. Okay, because the 36 touch campaign is where you will have 36 touches. Your eyes might roll behind your head right now, but just try to stay with me here. 36 touches every year. And it already is going to seem like a lot. I know it, but let's just break this down because it's really simple when you start to think about it. So it's a quarterly call. That's not that much. 1 call every quarter. Okay. And if you can't think of a holiday or a birthday or anything like that, well, there's something to talk about quarterly. Okay. You're going to send them, how many is that? 4 personal notes, birthday card, a home anniversary card, a holiday card, and just a handwritten note that says, hey, I was thinking of you today. Let's grab lunch. It doesn't need to be crazy. It just needs to be in front of them. You're going to send them a monthly newsletter. That's why it's 12. Okay. So we are at 4 touches from the calls, a total of 8 touches with the notes. And then adding the monthly newsletter, we're at 20 touches. Which, by the way, I love the monthly newsletter because all you have to do is design one a month and send it to everybody. Doesn't need to be that customized. Okay. Now, here is the tough one. Personally, it's my favorite, but you're going to have 4 events or giveaways. So an event is, and I'm going to say this as carefully as I can, it does not matter what the event is. It does not matter what the giveaway is. What matters is the touches that go around it. So here's an example. You are going to do an event. So the event is one of those touches, right? The event itself. You are going to send out a save the date, a text that says, hey, we're doing an event that's coming up. Can I count you in? Sorry, ignore that. Can I count you in? That's those 2 touches. And then the day before, like, hey, I just want to make sure you're going to be there. We can't wait to see you. And then the actual event. And then after the event is, hey, it was so great to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Or, sorry we missed you. We'll get you at the next one. 4 of those, each having 4 touches, is how you end up at a 36 touch plan. Here's what I love about this is this, in my opinion, is Keller Williams finally admitting that events and giveaways are a huge part of an agent's business. Because this was not in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. This is a new concept. The 36 touch campaign isn't new, but the simple formula of how to do it is new. Like they finally just flat out said, do 4 events. Doesn't matter how big they are. Okay. So 4 events, that's essentially a quarterly event, right? So you're doing quarterly calls, a monthly newsletter, and quarterly events. And then you're sprinkling in essentially a quarterly personal call or a note card. Okay. And that's how you end up with 36 touches. Now, is all this going to equate to transactions? Well, remember we talked about that the magic happens in these lulls, right? These are where you're making your deposits. Well, how do you make those deposits? With a 36 touch campaign. Okay. So if you can get the 36, I want to go out on a limb and say this. If you can effectively run a 36 touch campaign, you don't have to do much else because you will be outperforming in terms of touches and staying top of mind about every other real estate agent that's out there. Because so many real estate agents say, it was so great doing this transaction with you. Here's a knife set. Let's take a selfie. Okay. And then they're gone. They're gone for 6 years. And then they're all offended when that client doesn't call them for their next transaction. So the name of the game is when somebody goes into your database, they then get treated like royalty and they get put into your 36 touch campaign. You're making deposits during this time, you're getting referrals, and you're helping them buy. That is the oversimplified, but honestly the truth of how real estate is supposed to be done. What questions do we have on that, guys? Because I mean, I'll tell you right now, when I saw this slide in the book, it was a game changer for me because I was like, that's exactly it. That's all real estate is. What do we got, guys?
I got a question.
Sure.
On the database itself that you do the 36 touch plan on, I mean, I know that everybody's gonna be different, but a ballpark, I mean, how many people should be in that particular, how many people should you be trying to call every quarter?
Ooh, that's a great question. So there is no magic number, but I will say that there is a math formula. And what they say is that, and Keith Hilgenberg did this number, you should get about a 6% return in terms of appointments on your database. So I'll give you an example. If you have a 100 person database, you should have 6 at bats, meaning transactions, appointments, kind of figure out what it could be, referrals. If you have a 200 person database, you should be getting 12 at bats, appointments, transactions, referrals, opportunities. If you have 300 people in your database, you should be having 18 opportunities. So that is the math. I know it doesn't really give you an answer, but that is the math formula that they've given us a few different ways. They go up and down with the percentages, but that's kind of the consensus is you should be getting a 6% return on your database. So a different way to answer that is if you're a person that you feel confident in your abilities to convert and you think that if you only can get 12 at bats, you will get 10 transactions, then what I would say to you is you need a database of 200 people on a 36 touch campaign. What we see more oftentimes than not is people have a database of 14,000 people. They're not touching any of them and they have 3 transactions.
Got it.
Right? So in this case, more is not better all the time. We need you to make sure that you're doing a 36 touch with every single person in your database before we can say your conversion agents are off. You need to add people. We just need to see that you're doing 36 touch. So if you are a person that's like has it down to a science, we can almost reverse engineer it and say, okay, you want to go from 12 transactions to 18 transactions. Let's do the math. This is how many people you need in your database this year.
Thank you, that's.
All right. And I don't think they like to give us an exact percentage because are people actually doing the 36 touch? Like it's like kind of a self-reported thing. I've seen 10%, I've seen 5%. I firmly believe 6% is reasonable if you're doing a 36 touch. Okay, so we're just gonna finish up by talking about a few role-playing ideas. We're not gonna do role play right now. Like I said, this class is meant to be like, I think 4 hours. There's a lunch break and all that stuff. But here are 2 frameworks that you should understand when it comes to talking to people in your database or even at open houses. I'll go in reverse order because the most important one is, where is it? Oh, it's not in reverse order. This is the right order. In Ford. Ford is the conversation framework that you need to practice and learn. So Ford is, I'm going to zoom in, touches on universal topics when you meet somebody. And hopefully a lot of us have heard of this. It goes in order of family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. So family, obviously, what's going on in their family, with what's everyone been up to, how are the kids doing, how's the grandma doing, talking about their family. Occupation, I mean, that's like one of the most common questions people ask, right? Is what do you do? So what are they doing? Have they moved? They were looking for a promotion. Did they get the promotion? Did they get relocated? Recreation. I think somebody mentioned this one. What do they do for fun? Right? Are they rock climbers? Are they walkers? Do they do swimming? Right? You talk to them about their hobbies. And then dreams. What are they doing this coming summer? What are their Christmas plans? And something that I remember thinking, man, I'm supposed to go through all these every time I have a conversation. No, you're not. You're not saying like, okay, we've talked about recreation, so now how are your dreams doing? You're not doing that. Okay. You're just, these are ideas that are floating in your head. And if you feel like you're getting at a sticking point in a conversation, just pick a letter. Oh, we haven't talked about family. Hey, how's your aunt doing? I know you said that they just moved to Texas. How's that going? Right? So you're just choosing 1 or 2 letters, and it's just going to help you have a good conversation. And just remember, just asking good questions. Okay? Asking good questions about these topics. So that's Ford. Really relatable. This is universal. Use this everywhere you go, just like the questions that we use in role play. These things can be applied to anything. This is not real estate focused, in my opinion. It's not. This one is LP Mama. That's how I was taught when I was a newer agent. LP Mama. This is when you're meeting somebody and they're actually interested in a real estate transaction. So a lot of times it's going to be an open house. Okay. LP Mama stands for location. So where are you thinking about going? I know we're meeting in here in South Pasadena, but what other areas are you looking into? Price. What's your budget? Motivation. Why is this important to you? Are you working with an agent? That's an important one. Have you spoken with a lender and been pre-approved? Well, the next step would be to set up an appointment so I can help you get what you want in the time you want. Wouldn't that be great? Right? These are all like little script snippets that I'm using, but LP Mama is a great way to just get all of the pertinent information. And yeah, this could be used with sellers as well. This is how you qualify a lead. And then here's just another framework, feel, felt, found. And this is gonna, a lot of times, let me switch to the slide here so I don't mess this one up. This is gonna be used a lot of times when you're talking to somebody that is really confident in a misconception. And I know that never happens. I know our clients never convinced that they know everything, but in the rare instance that you come across a client and they are so focused on something that isn't necessarily true, a good framework is feel, felt, found. I understand how you feel. Many other people have felt this way. What they've found is blank. And it just helps you move past their objections. Okay. So, oh, 2 hours exactly. That was pretty good. So here's my shameless plug, guys. I want us to adopt at least one or two things from today, because here's the deal. We know that there's a book that is entirely written about how to make $100,000 in real estate. I'm not going to ask people to raise their hand, but I'm sure there are people that have not made $100,000 in real estate. So if you were given a recipe book of how to make something and you haven't made it before, it would probably be a good idea to start adopting what's in that recipe book. Okay. So here's what I would like to do before we do the ask for a review thing. I want us to go around and share what is the one thing, see what I did there? What is the one thing that you're going to take away from this class and apply it to your business? And I'll give you some examples. There's the energy plan. There's this 36 touch. There's the, what else? I mean, let's kind of go through these here. The 36 touch. There is the figuring out your 3 lead gen sources. There's figuring out your appointment number. So let's go around the room and tell me what is the one thing that you will adopt that by doing so, it will make all other things easier or unnecessary.
Increase the percentage. What?
Hello. Yeah, you want some? Sure, right? What'd you say?
Just go back on my database and increase the percentage of the information I have on my potential clients.
Yeah. And Mike, tell me, are you using Command?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, no, yeah.
So I'm going to pretend you said yes. So the beauty of Command is that is not an intangible concept. You can literally say, I'm going to make my database health score go from 37% to 40%. And we can actually see if that happens. It's not like it depends on how you look at it. It will give you a score. So that is a great one. I actually forgot about that one. Good.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah, it's your turn.
Oh, okay, cool. Alright, for me, Gabe, I'm gonna say, yeah, knowing my appointment number and being really clear on that.
Love that.
I'm gonna, try to pick out people in my database that I wanna do the 36 touch on, because
Ooh.
I have a big database, but I wouldn't say it's like quality. It's quantity.
Got
So
it.
I wanna pick out the quality and focus on those people on 36 touch.
Love that. Yeah. I just to interject on that, I don't know when it happened, but yeah, there was a point where it was like the bigger your database, the better. And I think that a lot of people just fell into that trap. And I'm not saying you did, but I know a lot of people that just like dumped as many things as they could in, and now they have to kind of sift through it. So that's a really good one.
My takeaway is 36 touch. Like next time if I want to launch an event, I can make 4 phone calls for the event.
Love that. Yep. Very good.
For me, it's the 36 touch plan as well. The
Okay.
quarter, all the personal cards and notes, the events and giveaways, and the monthly newsletter. I would like to try them.
Love that.
I treat clients as like loyalty.
Mhm.
So for me, I like to treat lead generation, not like lead generation. But someone was telling me like replace that lead gen word with, for instance, like your travel funds or dot funds that you love to do. And I'm going to do that and tagging my database more specifically. And on top of that, I like to kind of measure, is it like a hot lead? Is it more like a timeline
Mhm.
measurement in terms of time? That way I can emphasize which one I need to prioritize in terms of the uh, focus.
That's smart. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, I really like the block of time where like I get to like organize like my meditation, my lead generating and my workouts and just kind of like make it more like a habit, like a everyday thing, since that's my biggest issue right now with my schedules, just kind of more organized. I really like that.
Very nice. Very nice.
I would say the Ford and LP Mama framework, just making sure I'm spending time to brainstorm different questions that I can ask to hit all of those points and get answers for all of those things, and then also making sure I review that anytime before I'm about to do lead gen again to remind myself the questions that I should be asking.
Love that. Very nice.
And then for me, habits, just, making that time, uh, the, what was that, the time blocking is a big thing for me, and you just like, putting that in its place in the schedules, and then the 36 touch, because I think one of my biggest fears coming into this was seeming inauthentic or coming across as like I'm just trying to sell you something. So just keeping up with people, getting to know like they're just day-to-days and keeping in touch and contact.
Very nice. Very nice. Is that everybody in the room?
Except for Aaron's online, Aaron Nolan.
Aaron? See.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. For me, probably the just updating the command with my health scores,
Mm,
as well as time blocking. It's your day can get away from you, and you definitely can see how important it is to dedicate a specific time for a task and not let it, as you say, not let anything else interfere with that block.
yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
100%. Um, I mean, those are great takeaways. I jotted down a few notes that I wanted to make sure that we talked about before we wrap this up. So the concept of of feeling like you're going to bother people, anytime you feel like that, I would challenge you to find something that's more valuable to share. And the truth is, if you're calling somebody with absolutely no value to share, you should kind of feel a little guilty. So your job is to figure out what is exciting that's going on that you can call to share about. I mean, you guys are right in the mix. You hear all the real estate news that's pertinent to Pasadena, Altadena. You're in the thick of it. You hear everything. So your job is to figure out what one exciting thing is happening and then go out and share that with people. Because as soon as you realize, like, oh, this is actually really important information, that feeling of bothering people really will start to subside if what you have is actually valuable. So that's one challenge that I would give people. The other thing that I would say, and this is from experience, is the first round of calling through everybody is actually a little difficult because there's some guilt. You haven't talked to these people for a very long time. So it kind of makes sense that you're like, oh man, what am I going to do? What am I going to say? But I promise you, once you've done it once and you've put down notes of what you talked about, the second time it's actually a lot easier because they gave you some things that are going on in their lives. So you can be that really thoughtful person that says, hey, you know what? Last time we spoke, you said that you were going out on that anniversary trip. How did that go? And they think, wow, how did Gabe remember that? Like, that is so thoughtful. So I promise you, after you do it one time, you will start to have more material to kind of talk about. But the first one is a little bit more difficult. I won't lie to you. But once you get that first one done, you have some amazing materials to talk about. And then the last thing I'll say is, does anybody know what Parkinson's law is? It doesn't have to do with Parkinson's disease. It's different than that. Anyone? So Parkinson's law is the tendency for work to fill the amount of time that's allotted to it. And I'll give you an example. When you're in school, in high school, let's use, and the teacher gave you a week to write an essay. How long did it take to get that essay done?
Hour.
Was that
An hour.
an hour? Okay. If the teacher gave you 2 months to write that essay, how long did it take you to write that essay?
Oh, 2 months.
2 months.
If that teacher gave you 3 months to write that paper, how long would it take you to write that paper?
3 months.
3 months. We have this lovely tendency to just fill space. So if you tell yourself you're going to make 5 calls today, it will take you all day to make 5 calls. If you tell yourself that between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m., you're going to make 5 calls, you're much more likely to get it done. I would even shrink it. I would say from 9:15 to 9:45, I'm going to put a 30-minute timer and I'm going to make 5 phone calls. You will make 5 phone calls. So I would challenge you guys to shrink your time block to do that lead gen just a little bit more than you think. Make it more of an assignment. Like, I have 30 minutes to get this done. Nobody talk to me. I have to get this done. You will get more done that way than saying, well, I'm going to bed at 9 p.m. and it's 2 o'clock. So at some point, I'll make my 5 calls. You actually won't do it. It's the craziest concept. So Parkinson's law, use that to your advantage. Shrink your time so that you have to get it done in a specific window. Okay. Okay. Last thing, Robert's going to make me do this because KWRI makes us do this. We are beta testing this class. In case you guys didn't know this, this is a course that's being presented by Keller Williams International. So we got to beta test it, which means you guys were actually guinea pigs this whole time, which is cool. So here's what I want you to do. Please scan this QR code. What happens after that, I have no idea, but scan it.
It takes you to a survey, yeah, and then it's about 10 questions about how they can improve it, what they liked, what they didn't like. And then it's going straight to Jay Papasan.